All right, welcome to episode 17 of Life is Horror. This will be the top 17 favorite horror movies from 2017, along with mini reviews for the 2023 films Influencer, Consecration, and Baby Ruby. Baby Ruby is streaming on Hulu, and Consecration is on Shudder, and Influencer is also on Shudder. But first, let's talk about some upcoming horror news topics real quick. I want to get through this episode a little quicker than the last one. These last few episodes have been a little longer than I would like them to be. I want to keep this one around 30 minutes or so. All right. So, James DeMonico, the guy behind the Purge franchise, has stated that there might be a sixth movie in the works. He would like to make another one with Frank Grillo returning from part 2 and 3. He is likely to return to the franchise, a franchise that I am kind of sick of at this point. Not a huge fan of this franchise. I've seen all of them, and I thought 3 was my favorite, and then it just got really repetitive after that. It was just the same old shtick again and again. Very repetitive franchise, not my cup of tea. It just isn't for me. So, next thing, is Harry Manfredini has said that there is a new Friday the 13th game in the works, apparently. Not sure how, because of the whole rights issue thing. Like, the other game is losing licensing. Like, they can't even release the Jason X map in the last Friday the 13th game, but supposedly there might be a new Friday the 13th game in the works. I'm not even that big of a fan of the last Friday the 13th game. I'm not sure what this new game is going to be like. But yeah, I've played the multiplayer and the single player of the Friday the 13th game, and I don't know, it's repetitive. It's kind of boring to me. I'm not a fan of online gaming with other assholes. So I like single player games. In the single player campaign for the last Friday the 13th game, I wasn't very impressed with. So yeah, not very excited about that. And another thing is Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles is in the works also. Another sequel to the 2021 reboot, Welcome to Raccoon City, which I was a fan of. I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely a lot better than a lot of the other installments that were just more like action horror. This one actually felt more like a horror movie than the other ones. I think the new one, Welcome to Raccoon City, was actually my favorite, if not second favorite, of the entire series. Not sure if I'm alone in that opinion, but whatever. I think 5 was my favorite, if I remember. Retribution, that one was the most enjoyable one to me. And then the reboot by Johannes Roberts. So, yeah, we got another Resident Evil, and there's a lot of Resident Evil shit out there. And isn't there like a bunch of anime movies also? I haven't seen any of those, but a sequel to the new one, I'm okay with that. I mean, they did kind of leave it open at the end. They kind of hinted that there was going to be more, so I'm not surprised to hear that there's going to be another one to a sequel to Raccoon City. Um, so yeah, I would watch that. I'm not sure who's going to direct this one. I don't think they've stated that yet, but maybe it won't be the same director. But that's all I gotta say about horror news topics right now. So yeah, we got another Purge movie, another Resident Evil, and maybe another Friday the 13th game to play in the future. So now let's get into these mini reviews. Let's talk about the first one here. Let's bring it up. A movie I literally just got done watching, Baby Ruby. So let's pull it up. This one just came out this year. It's on Hulu. It got a wide release back in like February. And it's like a psychological drama. It's not a lot of horror in it. But here we go. Let me read the plot synopsis. So, after welcoming her baby Ruby home, the tightly scripted world of lifestyle influencer Joe starts to unravel. As increasingly sinister happenings mount, Joe is plunged into a waking fever dream where everyone is a threat and nothing is what it seems. So yeah, this is a movie about postpartum depression and psychosis with a baby that just won't stop crying. So if that bugs you like it bugs me, this movie's not going to be for you. So there's a lot of baby crying in this, lots and lots of crying. Won't ever fucking shut up. And there's multiple hallucinations to the point where you just can't even trust what you see anymore. Like, they make you think this like subplot with this other girl is real, but then it's not. Like you think that there's a scene where they're like making out, and you're like, oh, okay, and then but then it didn't happen, and then it did happen, and then it didn't happen. Like it just keeps going back and forth. You're like, what the fuck is even real? It's just it's one of those kinds of films. They keep flip flopping. They keep making you think it's real, but it's fake. No, it's real, but no, it's actually fake. So it's kind of a mind fuck in a way. And the lead couple in this movie I thought was likable instantly. Like you're on board with them. They seem like a genuinely happy couple. The chemistry, they're well acted. So I really liked them. I even liked the mom. She was kind of funny, and she gives this really horrifying speech in the middle of the movie about like her experience with being a mom. But who the fuck even knows if that speech really happened? Maybe that was all in her mind. I don't know. Um, so yeah, the grandma, great side character. The movie is rather repetitive. It's only like 90 some minutes, and it feels a little long because of how repetitive it is. It's like, all right, get to the point, like do something else, change it up a bit, throw something interesting here, some kind of cool twist, but you don't really get that. Um, and so yeah, the movie just really isn't for me because I'm not a mom. I'm not a parent at all. So I can't relate to this, and it's just not really for me. There's not enough horrific elements thrown into this to make it interesting for me. It just plays out more like a psychological drama with little interesting little hallucinations here and there. One very early on where she just keeps seeing all these moms on the streets, like newborns just being thrown at the car. That was like one quick little dream sequence that kind of caught my attention. I was like, oh, that was kind of freaky, but then nothing ever really was more interesting than that after that. And then the ending, it's kind of uplifting. It's kind of a happy ending. Like she's better now, and I would have preferred a much more dark, horrific ending. And so yeah, it wasn't really for me. It's more of a drama, psychological film, and just not enough horror. So Baby Ruby, I would give that like a 5 out of 10. It's fine. It's got like a 4.8 or 9 on IMDb right now, so it's not getting a lot of love. I thought it was fine, but just a little too repetitive, not enough horror. Next movie will be Consecration. This is on Shudder, and this is by a director I'm familiar with. I've seen all his other horror movies. Let me find it here. Consecration. Christopher Smith. This is the guy who directed Triangle. Highly recommend that movie. He did Black Death and Severance, both good movies. And he also did Creep, which it's been a while since I've seen that one, so I can't remember too much about it, but I think I remember it being okay. I think a lot of people like it. And The Banishing. That's my least favorite from him. It's kind of generic. Wasn't a big fan of that one. But Consecration, it's another okay movie in his filmography. And here's what it's about. After the alleged suicide of her priest brother, Grace travels to the remote Scottish convent where he fell to his death. Distrusting the church's account, she uncovers murder, sacrilege, and a disturbing truth about herself. And let me see what my notes are. It's been a couple months since I've seen this movie. It's a slow burn film, slow burn, religious, supernatural horror film with kind of a weak script, but it's elevated by its atmosphere. It's a very atmospheric setting. I like the locations, where it's set, and the cinematography. I thought that was the highlight of the film. Just the presentation. I really like the look of this movie, the atmosphere. The reveal at the end isn't very mind blowing, but is rather confusing. But the mystery of who the relic is. Oh, and not but, and I thought the mystery of who the relic is it kind of lacked intrigue. Just constantly talking about like this relic. Is it a thing, a person? Like, what is it? And I was just like, I didn't really care. It's light on scares and violence, but does get bloodier towards the very end. One character survives that realistically would have died. The storyline is non-linear. It's a lot of jumping back and forth in time. The score went unnoticed by me. I didn't really notice the soundtrack to the film, and they say she's they say she's evil, but if they had left her alone, she would have been peaceful. And in fact, she's using her powers to heal, not kill. That's what I wrote. I don't really know what it means, but like I said, I wish I would review these movies right away, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, they're just constantly saying the main girl in this movie is evil, but I wrote that she's really not, and like the movie never would have happened if they just would have left her the fuck alone. So, but maybe I'm wrong. Only in self-defense does she attack. So yeah, she's not that evil. Quit provoking her, you know. It feels almost like an anti-Christian commentary. That's what I wrote. Yeah, I guess this movie just kind of like paints Christianity in a negative light. Like these nun characters are wacky and crazy, so it doesn't make Christians look that good. This movie. Overall, it's ho hum story, but looks great. So at least it's got that going for it. You know, it looks good, but the story's not that intriguing. So, but if you're a fan of great cinematography, maybe check it out. But it's an okay movie. So I gave it like a 6 out of 10. It's okay. It's not a great movie. It's not very good, but I don't think it's that bad. So yeah. Consecration. Next movie. So this would be my more preferred movie of the three, and that's Influencer. I like this one the most out of the three films today. Influencer on Shudder. This movie is about, let me find it. I gotta find it in my ranking here. I keep all my movies together in order of preference. All right, here it is. So, Influencer, it's listed as a 2022 movie, but it got a wide release this year. So, be careful who you follow, is the tagline. While struggling on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, social media influencer Madison meets CW, that's her name, CW, who travels with ease and shows her a more uninhibited way of living. But CW's interest in her takes a darker turn. All right, so yeah, this got a wide release back in like May, and it's about a psycho thief with a big old birthmark on her face. She brings rich women, pretty women, who are alone to this island, and she just leaves them there to starve to death. And then she like takes over their social media accounts and she pretends to be them for a while. And she uses like Photoshop and all kinds of like computer technology to make people think that this person's still alive, posting photos for a little bit, and just kind of takes over their social media and lives in their shoes for a little bit and just drains them of their money while they're starving to death on an island. So kind of like that premise. And the opening credits of this film don't appear until 26 minutes in, which is interesting. It's kind of like the Friday the 13th remake. And also, the location is gorgeous. I don't know where they shot this in Thailand or if they really did shoot in Thailand, but the places that they stay at here, the locations are quite gorgeous. The movie ended just the way I wanted, with a little bit of someone getting a taste of their own medicine. There's no gore. It's very light on blood and teases you with nudity. So I'm not a fan of that. The high heel stomp kill could have been interesting if they actually showed it. That could have been a nice gory effect. Also, the possessive won't take no for an answer ex-boyfriend was a good actor, and I liked the tension between him and CW. So I really liked his character. He's a bit of a douchebag, but for some reason he's kind of like a likable douchebag, at least to me anyways. I kind of liked him, even though he's one of those like possessive asshole boyfriends who just like, even though the woman clearly said like we're through, he's like stalking her and following her all the way to Thailand. So he's a bit of a creep, but for some reason I kind of liked him. I guess I just liked his performance. And there's a struggle underwater in one scene that just was a little bit unbelievable. That was even a struggle at all. But yeah, I like the way this movie ended. So that kind of saved it. Because if it would have ended a different way, I would have been like, fuck that. But thankfully, it did not end that way. And it was my kind of ending. And, good performances. Well shot, good looking movie. The locations and whatnot. Kind of an interesting, unique premise in a way. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So Influencer, 7 out of 10. Good movie. Not fantastic or anything, but definitely a good one-time watch. I recommend it. So check it out on Shudder. All right, so that's the end of the mini reviews. Let's get into my 2017 list. And like all my other lists, this is wide release only. So a movie that got wide released in the US, especially in 2017, when I could have actually watched it. There's movies like The Devil's Candy. When you look them up, it will say 2015, but it was at film festivals in 2015 and didn't get a wide release until 2017. So that's how I did these rankings. So these are films that got a wide release in 2017. So some of them, when you look them up, they will say that they're not 2017, but they are. So yeah, in fact, 9 of the films on my top 17 are, quote unquote, non 2017. And I watched 88 films in total that are from 2017, but 40 of them are not listed as 2017 on IMDb, and 30 of them that were 2017 I had to kick off and put on a future list when they actually got a wide release. So I actually saw 10 less, so it would be 78 movies, not 88, if I was doing this ranking differently, but I'm not. So let's jump into this. My number 17 is, and we are starting at an 8 out of 10. That's where we are. These are all 8 out of 10s until I get to like my number, I don't know, 3. So these are all great movies. These are all great. And my top 3 are movies I absolutely love. The other ones are great. And there's a couple of other movies that I could have put at my number 17 spot that I also give an 8 out of 10. And I'll talk about those movies later. But let's jump into my number 17. Yeah, hold on. Let me make sure it's not at my number 1. There we go. Yeah, it was my number 1. If I would have made it visible, it would have spoiled the surprise for later. All right, so number 17 is Raw. This one I've only seen once. I wanted to rewatch it for this list, but I didn't. Just didn't have time. But this movie, I don't want to read the synopsis for every movie. I want this ranking to go by a little quicker than the last one, so I'll just skip the synopsis and just say a couple words about each movie that I can remember. What I remember about this movie is that it's super fucking gross. There's a scene where you see a cow like shitting a bunch and they're like sticking their arms in the ass of the cow. It's a movie set at like a vet school. So yeah, there's a lot of nasty animal stuff in this, and fingers getting chopped off and eating fingers. And the ending was a little bit of a head scratcher, a little weird. It's a weird, gross movie. It's a French film, so it doesn't surprise me. The French make a lot of gross movies. A modern horror masterpiece, the poster says. I wouldn't say this movie's a masterpiece. It's like a coming of age cannibal film. It's really weird. It's gross. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. Next up, Brimstone. I've seen this one a couple times, and this one's really dark, long. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and it's told in like chapters. It has one of the most evil protagonists ever, played by Guy Pearce, and the ending is a bit of a downer, and kids die. There's some gore, and it's a period piece, and it's very dark, very very dark. So yeah, check it out. This one's on Prime, I think. If not, you can check it out Tubi. And I definitely recommend it. I recommend all these movies. Number 15 is Split. Yeah, this one is by M. Night Shyamalan, and this one, I think, what makes this so great is definitely the performances, not only by, the lead actor here, James McAvoy, who's fantastic and Oscar-worthy in it, but also Anya Taylor-Joy from The Witch and Last Night in Soho, and I'm a big fan of it, and it's my favorite of this trilogy. I mean, actually, no, hold on. Unbreakable. I like Unbreakable just as much, but I definitely prefer this over Glass. And have I reviewed this movie? I don't think I did. I did an M. Night Shyamalan ranking, actually, so I talked about it a little bit more there. But yeah, I feel like everyone's seen this movie, so I don't need to say much about it. It's a great movie, performances, and just that alone is what makes this movie so fantastic. Is the performances. And Radius, this was a nice surprise. This is like a sci-fi mystery horror thriller where a guy he kills anything that's within a certain radius of him, like anything within like 50 feet or so. Will just if you're close to him, you'll just drop dead. Like your eyes turn white and you just drop. And then this girl is the only one who doesn't drop dead. And they're trying to figure out why that is. And then when you get the answers later on, and there's a nice little twist about these characters, that really blew me away. So that's what put this movie on this list. Is it's very interesting premise, and that twist at the end really just surprised me. So yeah, I definitely recommend this. I think this just recently was put on Prime, but I also saw it on Tubi, so check this one out for sure. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This is a very bizarre film. It's from a very weird filmmaker. He makes a lot of weird films, like The Lobster and Dogtooth. I think he's Greek. It's a Greek director, and this has Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman, and it's a movie where everybody gives really like lifeless performances, but it's like on purpose. Like they'll talk like this, like it was so funny, I laughed so hard, my sides hurt. Like that's how they talk. Like they're talking about like having great times, but they say it in a way where it's like you don't believe them. Like they talk so weird in this, and it's very weird and unsettling, and where it goes, and it takes a while for the movie to kind of get to the point. It's like 45, 50 minutes in when there's finally like a turning point, and you're like, oh, that's what this movie's about. And it's a little supernatural, it's unexplained, and it's very unique. And like the dialogue in this film, like watch it for the dialogue and the odd performances. Like that's what makes it so worth it. I really enjoy this movie. I'm going backwards here. Next one up, Happy Death Day. This is like Groundhog's Day meets a PG-13 slasher, and that's really the only knock on the film is the fact that it's PG-13. But I love the lead actress in this movie a lot, and her performance, and her arc at the end, and the boyfriend character, and the twist, like who it is. I remember I predicted it in the theater, so but that doesn't really hurt the film that much. But yeah, I would have preferred being surprised, but I do remember thinking it was kind of obvious who it was. They make you think it's this person, but it's actually this one. And but yeah, I really like this premise. I mean, it's not original; it's Groundhog's Day, but making a Groundhog's Day slasher, that's a cool concept, and that's why I put this movie on the list. I really like this one. The second one, not so much. It's good, but just it doesn't. It's not on par with part one, in my opinion. So, Happy Death Day, a fun little PG-13 slasher, but could have been rated even higher maybe if it just would have actually had the gore. 47 Meters Down. This is one of my favorite shark movies, definitely top five of all time. It just the situation that they're in is so terrifying. Like you got not only the threat of sharks, but the threat of drowning because their oxygen is running out. And this is the movie that actually got a release apparently in 2016. Like it like hit the shelves for a little bit, and then they actually took it off, and then they released it again in theaters in 2017. So some people might have actually seen this in 2016. I did not. Um, but yeah, so this is a weird movie that got released twice. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's because The Shallows came out in 2016 and they're like, oh, maybe we should just remove it from the shelves and we'll re-release it in theaters next year. And that's what they did. And it was actually called In the Deep when it was first released, and now it's called 47 Meters Down. But yeah, I really like the two sisters in this movie. The tension and the CGI sharks, they look good. It's just this is a very terrifying shark movie to me. I just think it would be horrifying to be in that situation. Just like those scenes where they're just looking in the distance and they just can't see shit. It's just so dark down there. Like that would be horrifying. Just not knowing what's around you, and then just to think that at any moment something like some shark could come up from underneath and just swallow you. Absolutely horrifying. So yeah, Mayhem. This is a really fun virus movie by Joe Lynch, who did Wrong Turn 2. Just a very fun virus horror comedy, a little bit of blood and gore. Not as much as I would have liked, but you got the incredible Samara Weaving in it. Absolutely love her from The Babysitter, which maybe I'll be talking about later because that's another 2017 film. Um, But yeah, just a lot of fun. If you like horror comedies, if you like movies like The Belko Experiment, that's kind of like what this is because they're stuck in an office building. It like shuts down, they're quarantined, and it's like a rage virus. But yeah, it's more of a comedy than a horror film. It's never trying to be scary or anything, but it's a virus movie, so I'll count it as horror anyways. Just a lot of fun. So definitely check this out. I prefer this one over The Belko Experiment. In The Barn, this is a throwback, cheesy B horror movie, a throwback to 80s. It's got that kind of like that aesthetic, the grainy filter, kind of looks like a VHS. And it's set in like the late 80s, I think, or maybe the early 90s. And it's just kind of it's definitely not the best like made movie on this list for sure. Like the acting, it's low budget, it's amateurish, but I like this kind of movie. I like I love films like Hatchet. I like throwback slashers, Terrifier. Like this is kind of like that. It's a little goofy. You get a little bit of TNA, a little bit of gore. Actually, you get quite a bit of gore. It's a good amount of gore in this, and I like the look of the villains. And I did a review of this movie actually, so yeah, you can check out my review if you want to hear my full thoughts on this movie. It's a lot of fun. If you like slashers, if you like the 80s slashers, then check this movie out for sure. And this movie actually just got a sequel this year. I'll probably talk about that movie in a future episode. Creep 2. This is, of course, the sequel to Creep from 2015. And interesting thing about this one is like I remember on first watch, I actually preferred this one over Creep 1, but I think on rewatch, watching them back to back, I prefer Creep 1 now over Creep 2 only because I feel like part 1 is more creepy. It's a little bit more unsettling, and because it's the first one, you're not quite sure where it's going, and you're not sure if this guy, played by Mark Duplass, is really crazy or whatnot. And I just like that movie more now over part 2. Whereas in the past, when I first watched this one, I like this one more for some reason. I like the lead character in this one more than the lead protagonist in this one more than the lead protagonist in Creep 1 because he was a little bit of a wimp, but a little bit of an idiot. And in this one, they went the opposite direction. It's a woman now, and she's a little weird herself, very brave. And I really liked that angle they went with this time. And it's more of a comedy than part 1 was. Not to say there wasn't any comedy in part 1. There was definitely some goofy, weird moments in that one. But this one, it amplifies the comedy a little bit more in this. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and they were supposed to make a Creep 3, I thought. And it hasn't happened yet, but I would like to see a third one because they definitely set you up for more at the end of this. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's very quick. It's a short film, and if you love Creep 1, I think you'll like Creep 2 also. So Creep, that's my number 8. Number 7, The Devil's Candy. This is from filmmaker I'm blanking on his name. Sean Byrne. Yeah, Sean Byrne, who did The Loved Ones, another fantastic film. This is like a heavy metal film. It's got like a heavy metal soundtrack, like Metallica music, and music that I don't usually listen to, that I'm not really a fan of, but I kind of enjoy it in this movie. And the cinematography of this film is awesome. The performances by the daughter and the dad in this movie, played by Ethan Embry. This is another short film. This is less than 80 minutes, I think. And yeah, it's 79 minutes long, so it's a very quick in and out, creepy, just hardcore, heavy metal music film, and it's very good. I don't think it's quite as good as I think The Loved Ones is amazing, but this is a great movie. Just I would put it below The Loved Ones. And this guy, he's only directed a couple of movies. Sean Byrne. Yeah, these are really the only 2 movies he's directed, and both of them very fantastic. So I wish he would make more. But yeah, Devil's Candy. It's like a kind of a possession or a psychological. Like the guy hears voices. It's this big, creepy, fat dude who is killing children. So yeah, it's quite dark. Any complaints I would have would be minuscule stuff like CGI fire towards the end. Maybe the plot not making 100% sense, thinking back on some things, but whatever. It's fast paced and it's beautiful to look at. It's well acted. It's definitely worth your time. And if you love this kind of music, hardcore, like Metallica and all that kind of stuff, definitely check it out because you'll dig the soundtrack at least. So yeah, Devil's Candy, check it out for sure. Better Watch Out. One of my favorite Christmas horror movies. A little bit of a horror comedy, but it's definitely dark. It's like a R-rated Home Alone, a crazy kid film. It's an evil kid film, but what I like about this movie is the first like 20, 25 minutes or so make you think it's like this home invasion film, and then there's some twists and turns, and it gets quite dark towards the end. And I thought these kid actors were fantastic, and that can make or break a film having horrible kid actors. And luckily, this film had two fantastic kid actors, and I mean, even the babysitter is kind of a kid herself, and she's kind of young. Yeah, she's great in this also, and yeah, just love the twists and turns. Love that it's like a R-rated Home Alone in one moment. They even reference Home Alone. They recreate some scenes from Home Alone, and I just had a blast with it. The atmosphere, the Christmas look, and the music. Like this is Christmas throughout. This is a great movie to watch in December. Definitely, it has that vibe throughout the film. And it's got some nice little cameos from more well-known actors, like the actress from Candyman, Virginia Madsen. It's got Patrick Warburton from Family Guy, and lots of other movies. Scream 3. Yeah, they have a nice little cameo at the beginning, but yeah, definitely check this one out. And Patchwork. This is a horror comedy. It's kind of like a Frankenhooker meets Reanimator, and this one also has nice little twists and turns towards the end that I did not see coming at all, and actually helped elevate the film. And I just I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know what else to say about it. I just really enjoyed it because I love Reanimator. I love Frankenhooker. So therefore, this movie was just for me. It's super silly, and I love that when these three women are stitched together, they're kind of like sharing the same brain, so they're all like talking to each other in their heads, and it's just super goofy and it's really fun. So yeah, if you like Reanimator films like that, and Frankenhooker goofy ass films that you can't take seriously, then check this movie out. Yeah. So and this one, who directed this one? I feel like he directed something else I've seen. Was it the? It was a. Oh yeah, the Tragedy Girls. That's right. Yeah, I knew he directed something else. This is from the director of Tragedy Girls and Good Boy, and the Killer Dog movie, and he did one of the VHS '99 segments. So yeah, good director. I like all his work, but I think this is probably my favorite. This or Tragedy Girls, but I probably would give the edge to this one. Just a lot of fun. This is my kind of movie. It, great movie. Everyone knows this one. This is probably what would be most people's like number one or two of the year. And I used to love this movie more when I first saw it, but I feel like the more I watch it, I go down a little bit. Like I used to rate this a little higher, but now I'm at an 8 out of 10. Um, I think it's just because the CGI does bother me a little bit in this one, especially when it's not necessary, when you can do things practically and you have a budget like this. It's like, what's the excuse to use CGI in certain parts? Like the leopard dude, like, why do you have to? It looked like CG and it just looked awful. So that kind of hurts the film. And also, it's a long movie, so it can kind of drag a little bit. But Pennywise is great in this. The performance by Bill Skarsgård, and some really creepy sequences, and all the child actors in this were great. There's some good comic relief from Richie and the other kid. Forget his name. Is it Ben? I don't know. I forget their names, but they're vulgar mouthed, and they're like they talk like kids talk when parents aren't around, and I like the dialogue, and I like the creepy like dream like Freddy dream sequences they have. This is like a Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's like a Nightmare on Derry Street or whatever street they live on. So yeah, it's like a Nightmare on Elm Street with Pennywise. Um, yeah, so everyone knows this movie. I don't need to talk about it. I reviewed this movie actually, so yeah, I don't need to talk about it anymore. Number three, The Void. The motherfucking Void. This is an amazing movie. This is 9 out of 10. Uh, the only reason why I can't really go 10 out of 10 is because it's just a little confusing to me, but I think it's just supposed to be confusing. It's a cosmic, like H.P. Lovecraft, just what the fuck is happening kind of movie. It's just got all these crazy ass monster effects that are fantastic. So this is from fans of, if you're a fan of movies like The Thing, this is a movie for you because that's what it kind of feels like. The effects, at least, like the effects are almost like that level to me in this film. Like the creatures, the designs, the gore, and I love the setting. They're at a hospital that's like closed down, or soon to be closed down, so it's very empty, like Halloween 2. And yeah, it's just the aesthetics of it, some of the cinematography, the look of the movie, just the gore hounds and fans of like cool looking creatures will love this movie. So check this out if you haven't. Streaming on Tubi, definitely. It might be streaming on Shudder or Prime. Check this movie out. Definitely, it is fucking amazing. The Babysitter, brought it up earlier when I was talking about Samara Weaving. She's in this one as the babysitter. This is by filmmaker Mick G. And this is on Netflix, and it's a horror comedy. Definitely a comedy. There's lots of humor in this film. You can't take it seriously. It's about a crazy babysitter and her like satanic, devil worshipping friends, all trying to, uh, make a pact with the devil. Kill someone and in order to get like their wishes granted or whatever. And the kid who's being babysat, he witnesses this, so then they got kill him because of what he saw. He knows too much, and then it's just absolute mayhem after that, and carnage, lots of gore, practical effects. It's a lot of fun. It's fast paced. It's short film. There's a sequel that's even more ludicrous and just absolutely off the walls. Just it's even more comedic than this one, if that's possible. This one's already silly enough, and I felt like part two took it to another level. And I like part two also, but this one's definitely the best one. And Samara Weaving is just sexy as hell, so that also helps the movie. Just another plus in their cherry on top. You get to see her make out with another famous actress in this movie, so that's another great thing about it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Check out The Babysitter. I'm sure you have. It's on Netflix. Check it out. What are you waiting for? Number one, though, I reviewed this movie. You probably saw this coming if you knew it was from 2017. This is a movie that's listed as 2015, but it got pushed and pushed and finally got a wide release in a new title in 2017. It was supposed to be called February at one point, but then it finally got released under Black Coat's Daughter. This is by Oz Perkins, who did I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House from 2016. Wasn't a fan of that one, too slow. But yeah, this is another slow burn from Oz Perkins, son of Anthony Perkins from Psycho. And this is a 10 out of 10. I fucking love this movie. I've seen this movie almost half a dozen times, and I love it more and more each time I watch it. The mood of it, the atmosphere. It's just such a grim, horrifying film. And it's a possession film. Maybe a little bit of a spoiler, because that's kind of like revealed maybe towards the middle of the movie. I don't know. But there's another twist in this movie, a real twist about one of these characters that really surprised me. And some people saw it coming. If you were to like look up the actress in this film on IMDb and see like what characters they played, I think that would spoil it for you. So don't look anything up about this movie. Go into it blind. Just know it's supernatural. It's devilish. A little bit of Exorcist in there, and it's set during the winter at like an all girls Catholic school or something like that. I think it's like a religious Catholic school, and it's just very moody, slow burn, and just very eerie to me. The score by, I think, the director's brother, Elvis Perkins, I want to say, is who does the score. Another effective part of the film is the soundtrack, and I just love this movie. Absolutely love it. This is my clear standout for the year. 10 out of 10. One of the best movies of this century, and just love it. It's not for everybody because it's a slow burn, but it's a slow burn that works for me. Not all of them do. Like I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. That's too slow. This is slow that works for me. because there's just this sense of dread throughout, and that's just what makes like Hereditary. It's that like I would put this on the same level as Hereditary. Like it's like if you love films like that, I think you'll like movies like this because this just like Hereditary is a slow burn that just you know uh, has a sense of dread. There, I lost that word for a moment. Dread. Yeah, this has that dread throughout, like Hereditary, and it's just super creepy and effective. So yeah, love this movie. 10 out of 10. Definitely my number one. So, 40 minutes in. Let me quickly shout out movies. I won't talk about them at all, but just write these titles down. Movies that just missed the list. Three movies that I would give an 8 out of 10 that were competing for that number 17 spot were Get Out, which I literally just watched for the first time this week, and A Cure for Wellness, and Annabelle Comes Home, the best Annabelle movie, in my opinion. Those were the other three 8 out of 10. So yeah, check those movies out. And then all my 7 out of 10s, there's a lot of them. So, write these movies down if you haven't seen them. They're all worth checking out. So, Little Evil, horror comedy, MFA, like a rape revenge. It Comes at Night, A24 psychological like virus movie. Kind of like a post-apocalypse type of film. The Monster Project, underrated, underseen movie, found footage film. Another one, found footage 3D. I like that one. The Bar, another virus movie. Cult of Chucky. I'm a huge Chucky fan, so I have to give it a shout out. Another Evil, another kind of underseen movie worth a watch. Killing Ground, Forest of Lost Souls, Jigsaw, Tag. That's a very bizarre film. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. The Cured and The Girl with All the Gifts. Both of those movies are kind of similar. They're both like zombie virus movies. And a very controversial movie, but I enjoyed it. Mother, by the director of Requiem for a Dream. Super Dark Times. A lot of people love that one, actually. I've heard a lot of people like that one. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good, but not great. A lot of people were like, it's amazing. I was like, it's good, but it could have been better. Prevenge, and shockingly enough, Amityville: The Awakening, one of the newer Amityville movies. I actually thought that one was good. And it has the actress from The Babysitter in it. And I think it's from the director of Maniac, the Maniac remake. And Mercy Christmas, horror comedy Christmas movie, cannibal film, very fun. It Stains the Sands Red, kind of a unique take on a zombie film. And Lake Bodom, I think this is a foreign film, and it's kind of like a slasher with a couple little twists in it. Leatherface, that one's very hit and miss, very controversial, very divided. But I thought it was okay. And here's another one, Death Note. Okay, I saw this one years ago before I knew people hated it, and I liked it. And rewatching it recently, I was like, I still like it. But everyone, I guess fans of the whatever it is, the comic or whatever it's called, manga, I don't know, I don't read. I guess fans of that shit hate this movie because it's a remake. I don't know. Like, if you're someone who hates movies just because they're remakes, fuck you. Like, this movie's good. Check it out. Death Note. It's not bad. Gerald's Game, I enjoy it. Mike Flanagan film. One of those trapped in one location, handcuffed to a bed, can't escape type of movies. I enjoy those. Belko Experiments. I talked about Mayhem earlier. I prefer that one to this one, but this is still worth checking out. My Friend Dahmer, another movie about Jeffrey Dahmer. We Go On, and the movie about a guy who's trying to find proof that the afterlife exists. And Super Dark Times, is that what this is? No, a dark song. A dark song. I like that one. And Stakeland 2, Here Alone, The Night Watchman. That's a zombie movie also. I think Here Alone's a virus movie as well. There's a lot of virus movies this year. Holy shit, I'm just realizing that. Alien Covenant. Nowhere near, that's probably my least favorite Alien movie, but still worth checking out. So it's a good franchise. Hounds of Love. And I'll just end it there. The rest are like meh films to find, like not really something I would like recommend you watch. So I'll just end it there. All right, so movies I did not like. Jeepers Creepers 3 can go fuck itself. And the other Sharknado movie from this year can go fuck itself. Sharknado 5 And Berlin Syndrome on Netflix. This movie is fucking horrible because the lead character, played by Teresa Palmer, a beautiful actress. The only reason you should watch this movie is if you just want to see her naked. It's the only movie that she's naked in, and she's quite beautiful. But she is fucking stupid in this movie. It's one of those movies where the character makes so many stupid decisions or just doesn't take enough action that I just lose sympathy for the character, and I'm like, fuck you. I don't care if you die at this point. It's just one of those movies where I just get disconnected from the film. I'm like, I don't care what happens anymore. I just want it to end. So it's just one of those movies for me. I hated it. And XX anthology movie, just boring. I didn't like any of the segments. Pitchfork, terrible slasher movie. And Without Name, it's like an environmental horror movie. The Gracefield Experiment, just bland, forgettable found footage film. Ride, this guy is like an Uber driver and he's just killing people. There's just not much to it. I mean, there's one scene where he takes brass knuckles and he literally punches a woman's head off, which is quite impossible. I don't think anyone could actually do that, but outside of that, there's nothing else memorable about that movie. It's fucking terrible. So, yeah, that's the end of my rant there. So, yeah, what are your favorite movies from 2017? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts on the movies I was talking about earlier? Influencer, Consecration, and Baby Ruby? Let me know. And I will see you in the next video where I will be talking about my top 18 of 2018. So yeah, I'll see you there. Goodbye.